Hi, Fiona. How are you?
Hi, Nakia. Lovely to meet you.
Lovely to meet you. Star Wars, here we are. Maarva, who is Maarva and what turned you on to her character that made you want to join the Star Wars family?
Well, Maarva, is Cassian's mother, and she's Maarva Andor, and she is his mother. He, of course, has a Mexican accent, and therefore there's more to that than meets the eye. So what you've got is Maarva, who became his mother when she found him on the planet Canary and took him home and loved him since he was a child. So she's the only mother he's ever really remembered, but he has a sister from another life, as we all know. So it's a complex but interesting, loving, passionate, cross relationship between mother and son.
I love the relationship and I love the dynamic duo between you two on screen. It was very, very magnetic. I really enjoyed it. What was it like for you working with Tony Gilroy and his version of this Star Wars story?
Well, Tony is a sort of, he's a sort of satellite in the universe, isn't he? He's able to just ping off different planets. He understands the makeup, the psychology, the politics, the structure of each planet and how they interact with each other and how the planets themselves affect the people who live in them and how the people in. So, it was pretty exciting being with him. And whenever he always said at the end of every conversation, if you have any question, just ask me, because he always knows the answer.
Yeah, he seems pretty cool. I'm like, what a joy it must be to be working with him and having him on set. Watching it, the set seemed so realistic and it seemed so beautiful, so different from a lot of the other Star Wars movies. What was it like for you being on set? Because I know for me watching it, I was like, wow, this doesn't look like a green screen. It does not look like CGI.
Oh, and a lot of it really isn't green screen or CGI. I mean, what it was like is, I suppose old Star Wars sets must have come in a way down from opera or theater. And so they were trying to distance us from the action to realize how grand the future might be. But this is doing quite the opposite. And these, the sets of Ferrix where I live is a whole street of beautifully built adobe houses made with bits of old spaceships and turned into these magnificent architectural dwellings, and they're all functional. We can go in and out of them. They've got windows that open, close. So you're both in the future, but you're also in some strange sort of nostalgic past. In this is a tumble down old planet which has never really moved forward on the edge of the universe, and you get that feeling too. So even though it's the future, it's a sort of raggy future.
Yeah, it looked really cool seeing you in your uniforms and seeing everyone dressed up and you walking around with a gun. I'm like, everything just looked so fun, like a big kid on a playground. That's what I got watching it.
That's
So I
good.
can only imagine for you playing in this.
I'm not used to carrying guns around, but
I, I seen you with the gun and I was like, okay, Fiona.
yeah.
I love it. Were you always a big Star Wars fan? Because the fans are very passionate about Star Wars. And was it overwhelming for you to come and join this franchise?
Well, I'd seen the first Star Wars film, so I mean, I'm aware of that. Of course, here we are now in a prequel. I may not have been as on the ball about every character and every move, but of course, Star Wars has been in our lives for 40 years, so it's very much part of our language really now, isn't it? It's like classical drama. I mean, it has sort of marked out how we look at things, how we look at the future. We can't even talk about the future without referring to Star Wars. So it's very much like everybody else, is part of my life.
Yeah, it's the show's really great. I got the chance to see a few episodes and it was really, really good. What do you hope? Because again, like I said, fans of any franchise, they get really passionate and serious about their baby. I think, what do you hope the fans will take away from this project and this new show? Because it's a different show.
I think the social realism of this show means that the fans can also have their parents and their grandparents watch it. They can have their children watch it. There's something for everyone in it because the complexity of human life is there. They could be watching, a very serious movie, or they'll be watching something funny. It's both funny and serious. It's complex, it's political, it's imaginative. So there's something for absolutely everybody. So hope they take away from it a chance to see that future world does not have to be simpler than the complexity of our own.
Yeah, I totally agree. And for your character, was there, because this is the prequel to Rogue One, and we're kind of getting to know the characters. Was there anything that surprised you about your character?
I suppose about my character, well, the very fact she existed, I mean, you didn't know her before, is that suddenly we're throwing light on Cassian, but also I liked playing somebody whose job was something you can't even conceive of. I mean, how can you play somebody who flies spaceships and who goes around to other planets? You know, it's not the same as driving a truck, to put it mildly, and yet it's somewhere near a truck driver or a female truck driver, except that you're going from planet to planet, who is exploring other planets, taking these huge bits of metal and then flying back to Ferrix to try and survive by often fixing and fueling the Empire's spaceships. I mean, it's the most unusual kind of job to be given. And what does that do to that person? You know, it makes them very sure, very clear about what, you know, what they like about the Empire, which is nothing, because the Empire just come in, as Maarva says, you know, they come, we fix their spaceships, we send them away, and we forget them because we had each other. She says we had each other. So that she's somebody who understands the really good values that will work in the past, work to the past, work now, will work in the future, which is community and affection for other people.